Welcome to WEIBLUESKY Novels. Thank you for joining me. Now, let's begin today's story.
Chapter 3, One Jug of Wine, Two Eras. The tavern was far livelier than it had appeared from a distance. Before they had even crossed the threshold, the sounds came pouring out. Laughter, boisterous shouts, the thud of wooden tables, all blending together like a river alive with its own restless current. Li Bai reached out and pushed the door open. The heavy wooden door creaked softly. Warm air and the rich aroma of wine washed over them at once. Instinctively, Li Yuankai took half a step back. There was no air conditioning here. No chimney to carry away the smoke. Yet the room was filled with a strange warmth. Not the kind that made one comfortable, but the kind that sharpened the senses. Come. Li Bai did not look back. His tone was casual, yet carried a quiet authority that made refusal seem impossible. Li Yuankai drew a deep breath and stepped inside. The tavern was even more crowded than he had imagined. Wooden tables stood shoulder to shoulder, nearly every seat occupied. Some patrons roared with laughter. Others argued at the tops of their voices. A few had already drunk themselves senseless, their heads resting on the tables. In one corner, a group of scholars was engaged in a contest of verse. On the other side of the room, someone pounded the table in rhythm as he sang. Li Yuankai stood frozen. This was not a page from a history textbook. This was the Tang dynasty. Alive. Li Bai casually chose an empty table and sat down. He neither asked the price, nor glanced at anyone around him. He carried himself, as though this place had always belonged to him. Wine, he called to the tavern keeper. His voice was not loud, yet it carried with perfect clarity. A moment later, a jug of wine was set upon the table. It still gave off a faint curl of warmth. Li Bai lifted the jug and filled 2 bowls. The movement was so practiced, it seemed as natural as breathing. He slid one of the bowls across the table toward Li Yuankai. Drink. Li Yuankai stared at the bowl. The wine was crystal clear, yet shimmered with the faintest hint of gold. He had never drunk wine like this before. The point was not the absence of a glass, or the lack of ice. It was the bowl. He hesitated. I'm not much of a drinker. Li Bai looked at him. He did not smile. He merely said, almost offhandedly, then all the more reason to drink. He raised his own bowl first. 1 swallow. And drained it. No wince. No hesitation. As though it were nothing more than water. Li Yuankai stared for a heartbeat. Then he lifted his own bowl. The instant the wine touched his lips, he frowned. Spicy. Hot. And with a force that shot straight down his throat. He almost coughed. But somehow, he forced himself to swallow it. Li Bai watched him. This time, Li Bai smiled. Now that's more like a human being. Li Yuankai set the bowl down and coughed twice. His eyes stung from the heat. That's unbelievably strong. Li Bai simply poured another bowl. If wine lacks fire, he said, how can it awaken a man? He lifted the bowl, but did not drink. Instead, he gazed into the surface of the wine. Most people, he said quietly, are drunk on other things. Fame. Fortune. Gain and loss. He gently swirled the wine in his bowl. Better to be drunk on this, he said, it's a cleaner intoxication. Li Yuankai fell silent. The words had been spoken lightly. Yet they settled. with astonishing weight. For the first time, Li Yuankai began to understand why this man was called the immortal poet. Not because he wrote poetry, but because he lived as though he belonged to no ordinary world. And you, Li Bai asked suddenly. What? Li Bai held his gaze. What are you drunk on? Li Yuankai froze. His lips parted. But no answer came. He wanted to say, work, the future, anxiety. Yet in this place, those words felt strangely out of place. In the end, he said only one thing. I don't know. Li Bai looked at him. He offered no judgment. He simply nodded. Then at least you're honest. He took another drink. Silence settled between them. For a while. Around them, the tavern remained as lively as ever. Yet somehow, this table seemed to stand apart, as though it belonged to a quieter world. A moment ago, Li Bai said, you claimed to know me. Li Yuankai's heart tightened. Here it comes. He had known this moment would arrive. He drew a slow breath. I come from a place very far away. Li Bai did not interrupt. He simply listened. So far away. Li Yuankai paused. That you wouldn't believe me. Li Bai smiled. I already believed you fell out of the moonlight. What else could possibly be beyond belief? Li Yuankai blinked. For some reason, those words eased something inside him. In a quiet voice, he said, I come from more than 1,000 years in your future. The tavern carried on around them, as loud and lively as before. But for Li Yuankai, time itself seemed to slow. It was as if time itself were waiting for those words to settle. Li Bai did not answer at once. He simply looked at him for a long while. Then he smiled. Not with disbelief, but with delight. More than 1,000 years. Li Bai repeated the words softly. Then why have you come here? Li Yuankai fell silent. He had never asked himself that question. He hadn't come here. He had fallen into this world. I don't know, he said again. Li Bai looked at him. This time, he did not nod. He simply filled Li Yuankai's bowl, then slid it across the table. Then drink, he said, until you know. He raised his own bowl. Since you say you know me. His eyes caught the light, a single spark against the night. Then tell me. He leaned forward ever so slightly. There was something in his voice. A quiet anticipation. What kind of man am I? Li Yuankai froze. The question was unbearably heavy. Because he knew the answer. And yet, he did not know whether he should say it. He looked at the man before him. Alive, not yet written into history. Then a thought struck him. If he told him. Perhaps, the lanterns swayed gently above them. Shadows rippled across the tabletop. Li Bai was still waiting. And for the first time, Li Yuankai felt knowing the future was no light burden.
Thank you for listening to WEIBLUESKY novels. Until next chapter, take care, and keep dreaming.